The concept of an escape of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, often referred to as a murderer by critics due to his government's actions during the Syrian civil war, is hypothetical and speculative. Assad has remained in power since the civil war erupted in 2011, despite significant international opposition and widespread allegations of war crimes, including the use of chemical weapons against civilians, indiscriminate bombings, and systemic torture in state-run prisons. Context of Assad's leadership in the Syrian civil war. Bashar al-Assad inherited power in Syria in 2000 following the death of his father, Hafez al-Assad, who had ruled the country for 3 decades. Initially perceived as a potential reformer due to his Western education and softer demeanor, Bashar's regime quickly cemented itself as authoritarian, with a tight grip on the military, intelligence apparatus, and the Ba'ath Party. The Syrian civil war began in 2011 as a series of peaceful protests inspired by the Arab Spring, demanding democratic reforms and an end to corruption. Assad's government responded with violent crackdowns, turning the protests into a full-scale armed conflict. Over the years, the war has devastated Syria, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives and displacing millions. Allegations of war crimes. Assad's government has been accused of numerous war crimes, including 1. Chemical weapon attacks. International investigations have implicated Assad's forces in multiple chemical attacks, including the 2013 Ghouta attack, which killed hundreds of civilians. 2. Indiscriminate bombings. Barrel bombs and airstrikes have been used extensively against civilian populations, destroying hospitals, schools, and residential areas. 3. Systematic torture. Reports, including the infamous Caesar report, have documented the torture and execution of thousands of detainees in government prisons. 4. Siege tactics. Cities like Aleppo and Homs were subjected to prolonged sieges, leading to starvation and suffering among civilians. Hypothetical escape of Assad. Assad's hypothetical escape could stem from various scenarios. 1. Domestic rebellion. Internal dissent within his government or military could lead to a coup, forcing Assad to flee. 2. International pressure. A coalition of nations might escalate diplomatic, economic, or military efforts to isolate Assad, making his position untenable. 3. Loss of Russian or Iranian support. Assad's survival has heavily depended on allies like Russia and Iran. 3. If either were to withdraw support, Assad could face defeat and potential flight. Potential refuge and exile. If Assad were to flee, possible destinations might include countries with which he maintains strong ties or those willing to shield him from international prosecution. Historically, dictators in similar situations have sought refuge in allied states or nations without extradition agreements. For Assad, Iran, Russia, or a neutral third-party state could be potential havens. The aftermath of an escape. The escape of Assad would mark a significant turning point for Syria and the region. However, the power vacuum left behind could result in 1. Increased chaos. Syria could face further fragmentation, with rival factions vying for control. 2. Justice and accountability. Assad's departure might enable the international community to pursue war crimes trials more effectively. 3. Reconstruction efforts. With Assad gone, a new leadership might emerge, potentially paving the way for rebuilding and reconciliation. Conclusion. While Assad remains firmly in power as of now, the hypothetical scenario of his escape underscores the complexities of the Syrian conflict and the enduring quest for justice by millions of Syrians affected by his regime's actions. Whether through accountability in international courts or a political resolution to the war, the question of Assad's ultimate fate continues to loom large in discussions about Syria's future.